With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, and here at Meow Greens, we're on a mission to provide better nutrition for all cats because truthfully, all cat food is dead food, which is why we created Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their dead food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All with a tasty formula that your cat will love. You can improve your cat's coat, digestion, and energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code MEOW. You just cover the shipping. Bring your pet's food back to life. Get your free Jumpstart trial bag. Go to meowgreens.com. Use promo code MEOW, MEOW. So good your cat will ask for it by name.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guess what? Children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, where BZ is broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, just 2 miles from the locus of evil on the entire West Coast. The Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the capital, Sacramento, Fornicalia, where all evil resides and then emanates, frequently late at night. Belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Fluffy is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to my left, your right, meaning that you can listen right now and be involved in the chat room at shrmedia.com, shrmedia.com. And you want to watch the show? It's being streamed on Facebook Live. Go to the SHR Media Facebook page or the SHR Media YouTube channel. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle. Do not forget to tip your waitress. Well, folks, welcome. It's been a crazy week. All sorts of breaking news. And today, Thursday, April 19th, the year of our Lord 2018. Well, the metric tons of breaking, bursting, crackling news just keeps on coming. Oh my God, it's like it never stops. I have to ask you, because I thought about this actually many times. Are you so immersed in politics? Probably not as much as I am, but do you ever step back and say, you know, today, I don't know, maybe this week, this month, I just need a friggin' brain cleanse. I need to cleanse all of the bullshit that's in my brain from having listened to all this political swamp crap that's been going on since almost, it seems like time immemorial. And there are times when I've wanted to step back, and admittedly I had some health issues, and there's still some health issues going up under the hat, which is one of the reasons I wear a hat. And I stopped publishing on my blog every day. I want to get that back. Basically the only things that I have time for, amongst other things, are reposting the shows, the individual shows, and then helping with the SHR Media blog itself, and then helping here in the studio, etc. I want to get back to blogging 1 post a day minimum. Jeff Dunitz, who's here, you can listen to him every Wednesday. He posts a minimum of 1 to 3, sometimes 4 posts a day. God bless him. I'm not sure that I can particularly do that, but I want to get back to posting at least once a day. That's my goal. I hope to be doing that within about a week or so. I have 3 magnum opus monumental posts that are coming. And I keep promising this to you, but, life gets in the way, just like life happened to get in the way of the Sackheads radio show. And life happened to get in the way of the Reaver of Common Sense, Jersey Joe. And we miss both of them. I miss Jersey Joe quite a bit, and I miss doing the Sackheads radio show. Slight promo there, just a bit of a prompt. We're back. The entire band is not back, but if you want to listen, if you go to shrmedia.com, you can go and listen and watch the show. I guess you can't really call it a replacement show, but it's in the same time slot that the Sackheads radio show was in. And it's Sackheads Against Tyranny, where myself and Sackheads Clint weigh in on issues of liberty, tyranny, freedom, etc., and a whole lot of news as well. Speaking of a whole lot of news, welcome to Mike in chat. Welcome to Whiskey Dale in chat. I am, in great anticipation of the Bobcat that Whiskey Dale sent. Now, if you look behind me, if you're watching on Facebook or happen to be watching on YouTube on the SHR Media channel, behind me is a license plate, and that license plate changes frequently depending on how I'm feeling. And I'm trying to figure out, when I get the Bobcat, where am I going to put the Bobcat? I'm thinking, because I want to get the Bobcat into the show the way it's created right now, so people can see it behind me. I'm trying to figure out, is there a space between my head and the top of the show right here? Because you can see that's clearly the top of the show. God, how can I do this? How can I put it? Am I going to be able to put it over here? Am I going to be able to put it behind me where the license plate is right now? Somehow I got to try to figure out where to put the Bobcat. Or the Bobcat may have its own screen on the wall where the blue on the air light is still, but I don't have a camera aimed at it right now. So I got to figure out, decisions. Unfortunately, I have to start out the show with this. I wish I hadn't, but everyone needs to know. All I'm saying is that at one point in 2016 and 2015, this tended to be a trend. And I'm hoping that it's not a trend that's started up again. And if I can get Fox to cooperate with me. Go back and let's start. Can we start?
In Gainesville, Florida, where 2 Gilchrist County Sheriff's deputies were shot and killed at a...
With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, and here at Meow Greens, we're on a mission to provide better nutrition for all cats because, truthfully, all cat food is dead food, which is why we created Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their dead food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more, all with a tasty formula that your cat will love. You can improve your cat's coat, digestion, and energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code MEOW. You just cover the shipping. Bring your pet's food back to life. Get your free Jumpstart trial bag. Go to meowgreens.com. Use promo code MEOW. MEOW. So good your cat will ask for it by name.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Restaurant in Trenton when a suspect walked up to the business and fired through the window. Attorney General Pam Bondi in Florida called that attack senseless, and she offered condolences and prayers to the families. The alleged gunman is reported to be dead, and the sheriff's office says no suspects are at large.
So 2 Florida deputies were killed in an apparent ambush today in a restaurant in Florida. It was in Trenton, Florida, in what officials are saying appears to be pretty much a clear ambush of these law enforcement officers. 2 Gilchrist County deputy sheriffs were shot and killed around 3 p.m. after a suspect walked up to the Ace China restaurant and shot both deputies through the window. The Alachua, I'm screwing that up, I'm afraid, County Sheriff's Office said in a statement made on behalf of the Gilchrist County Sheriff's Office. As fellow deputies responded to the scene, they found the shooter deceased outside the business, and both deputy sheriffs, where they died of their wounds. Excuse me. The deceased were identified as Sergeant Noel Ramirez, 30, and Deputy Sheriff Taylor Lindsay, 25. Authorities said during an evening news conference they did not release the name of the suspected shooter. And what I believe at this point, my guess would be, since the shooter's dead, is once that was done, the shooter probably shot himself. Small favors. But unfortunately, again, 2 law enforcement officers were killed in very, I'll just flatly say it, terrible and tumultuous times for law enforcement these days. They're under the gun like never before. They're essentially cast to the wind and thrown to the wolves, literally, by their departments. That's another post that I'm working on. How leftists, and altogether way too many of them, are attempting to emasculate and defang law enforcement so that I wouldn't be surprised if the ultimate goal, eventually, according to leftists, would be to remove any sort of firearms or defensive weapons from United States law enforcement officers. It's got to be going that direction at a time when, on the other hand, shootings, overall gun crime, has generally been going down. We saw this, as I indicated, as a trend back in 2015, where officers, New York, Dallas, all across the United States, were being targeted in ambush shootings, singly and multiply as well. My blessings and condolences to the family of these fallen officers. God bless them. They were sheepdogs, and the wolves succeeded again this time. And if you've read anything by Dave, I can't think of his name. He wrote On Killing. Oh, Dave Grossman, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, essentially says that in the world there are sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. And sheepdogs, like myself, 41 years in law enforcement, are the individuals who happen to keep the sheep safe at night. And the wolves are the predators. Sometimes the predators win. And this is one of those occasions where they did, in fact, win. It's about 15 minutes after the hour. I need to tell you that we're going to be talking tonight. I hate to start a show on a little bit of a downer, but I need to get the news out because after having done what I did for such a terribly long time, this kind of a thing affects me. And this is perfect timing because here we have Kari Baxter Donovan calling in. And Kari happened to make, I just have to say, your timing was great. Because I just got through reading about the 2 Florida officers that were killed. Basically, they were ambushed in a Chinese restaurant today in Florida. I hate to start the show, like I say, on a downer, but we're going to pick it up right now because one of my favorite people has called in, Kari Baxter Donovan, the likes of which I quantify as BZ's East Coast political goddess, with good reason. She used to write for, now I can't even think of the name of the place, but now you work at Populist. Help me out, Kari. You work at populistwire.com?
Populist Wire.
Populist Wire.
Populistwire.com.
Okay, and you did previously work up until, about January or so? What was the other place?
For Big League Politics.
Big League
I still
Politics.
might drop some articles over there every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was dredging through your stuff, and I saw that the last article that you'd written at Big League Politics was right around in January. But I haven't embarrassed Kari enough yet, so I'm going to do this. Now, here I have, folks, for those of you who happen to be watching, there she is, and this is her bio. If I can get that close enough and the camera can focus on it. There it is. There's her bio on politicalwire.com. And it says, Kari lives in North Carolina with her children and dog Scout. Oh, stop right there. I like the name Scout. By the way, I've never asked you this before, Kari. How old is Scout, and what kind of a doggy is he?
Well, so Scoutabout is a chocolate lab, and she was born at Quantico. So that's why her name is Scout. And yeah, she's a little military dog.
Okay.
And she's a chocolate lab, and she's she's about 11 now. So 11 or 12.
Was she a working dog?
No, she's a pampered little puppy.
Okay.
She's a little baby puppy.
And are chocolate labs as crazy as other labs, or insensical as, say, golden retrievers?
Oh my gosh! So I read somewhere that chocolate labs are like actually missing a gene or something. Like there's something maniacal about them. They are lunatics. They're crazy. And I remember just like having my hands full. And I got the dog before my daughter was born, thinking that the boys, they would need a dog to play with and everything was calming down around the house. And then I got pregnant, and I had my hands full, that dog. And I would just watch other people and think, like, when is my dog going to calm down? I got kicked out of doggy training school.
Oh,
it was
no.
so crazy.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh, yeah. Scoutabout. She was crazy. She would chew on the house. Like dogs chew on things? No, she would just like chew on the woodwork of the house. Oh my gosh, that dog! I never thought she was going to calm down. Now she's older, and she actually has some older, dog diseases, and she's got something going on with her neck, and so she's got to be on some painkillers every once in a while. So she comes and hangs out with me on the couch. Finally, she sits down. Yes. Chocolate labs. They're crazy.
I have to tell you a little bit of a story because you mentioned about, nibbling on things. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was in the process of going out for our canine unit. And I first tried raising the puppy thing. And I went to what turned out, unfortunately, I didn't know at the time, a puppy farm for German Shepherds. And I paid a staggering amount of money for this German Shepherd pup at the time, which was the state of the art in law enforcement in the early 80s. And I thought, okay, this is great. I'm going to raise this dog. I'm going to get it Schutzhund trained. And I know some great dog trainers to go to. Bill Lipschen was one of the guys that I was thinking about. He used to train for the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, the Sacramento Police Department as well. And everything was going to be rosy. And I had two other guys that went with me to go get like German Shepherds. And we had a big run of pups, and I picked one out. And it turns out that no more than about 9 months later, the pup, though fairly big now, the pup had hip dysplasia terribly, and I had to put the dog down. And on top of that, the two other deputies who went with me at the time to get dogs, their dogs had the same problem. We all got multiply pissed because we hated to see our dogs go away. We went back to that place, and it was closed. Gone. The people had vamoosed. It was a terrible proposition. But that dog, whose name was Aaron, which is loyalty in Deutsch, used to eat, when I would let him out, would eat the corners of the rental property that I had. And I ended up paying, because the landlord, when I moved to my house after it was built, the landlord came to me one day and said, by the way, all the corners of my duplex are eaten. And you weren't supposed to, I wasn't supposed to have a dog, okay, so. And he said, what possibly ate the corners of my building? And by the way, to repair that, you owe me $1,000. Oh, my God.
Great.
Oh, how sad. Anyway, you have a dog named Scout, and right here in politicalwire.com, it says, Kari Baxter Donovan is an ex-communist organizer, a homeschooler, and a music junkie. She writes about populism, economic nationalism, and cultural Marxism. Kari calls... Wait, stop. Cultural Marxism. Okay, what's cultural Marxism as far as you're concerned?
Well, so I think I would describe it as... Okay, I'm going to take a deep dive.
Okay.
This is like, this is my thing. Okay, so but cultural Marxism to me, and it's smart to ask people what they mean because it's used, in all many different contexts. Basically, is referring to Chinese communist tactics of infiltrating institutions for the purpose of changing a common culture in hopes, and actually it does work. It's a tactic that is very effective, and it works on changing people's perception of right and wrong, cultural norms, values, things like that make a society function. So, the Chinese communists are especially effective at this, in infiltrating institutions. And one of the first articles that I wrote for Big League Politics was about the guy who was the military guy. Oh my gosh, where was he from? And he was a communist, the kid who opened his shirt up to show, Che Guevara shirt, and he idolized Chinese communists for this exact reason, because that's what he was doing at West Point. It was at West Point. His perception was that he was going to infiltrate West Point to bring about communism. Okay, and so he idolized Chinese communists. That's what cultural Marxism is, and it was David Horowitz who really, I think, brought it to the forefront. And then Andrew Breitbart, and Steve Bannon behind Andrew Breitbart, they really sort of brought about the idea of it in our generation, pointing it out in places, and then showing how the media was using cultural Marxism, Chinese communist tactics, to, tell a story, to weave a tale, to start to turn people. And because I have a degree in communist organizing, like you said, community organizing, that is based, and it really super-duper is communism. And I was taught by the hand of the first generation of Olinskyites who came over in Michigan, where I went to school. They were from Chicago. They just hopped over the pond. They were the very first generation of Olinskyites. Yes, I was trained by those wingnuts to be a communist. And that's why when I got out of social work school and I had actually made it through the LA riots, I started to realize y'all are a bunch of communists. That's what your problem is. And that's when I started to really, I met Andrew Breitbart, and that's when he started talking about cultural Marxism.
What a wonderful thing.
And, just things like that. Is that a long story, cultural Marxism?
Number one, I enjoyed it. Number two, you're absolutely correct. And number three, what a wonderful thing that must have been to have actually met Andrew Breitbart. That must have been that would have been one of the highlights of whatever I had ever aspired to in politics, would to have met Andrew Breitbart.
Well, yeah, and I met him. Yeah, I met him before he was famous. And so it was kind of like just meeting another person. It was kind of like you. I mean, you have like awesome conversations with people who are like-minded, and so yeah, it was awesome in that way. He wasn't famous though at the point. It wasn't until a few years later, I don't know how many years later, when I saw him posting on Free Republic. I believe Steve Bannon was there at that time. And then, of course, when he did get kind of big, I was like, oh, hey, wait a minute. But I think at that point he was already married. We had gone our sort of separate ways, right? And I had gone and had kids, and he had gone and did his thing. But, yeah, I mean, he was awesome. In the sense that he helped me make sense of all that cultural Marxism that I'd been indoctrinated with. And because I was kind of, I was falling into this leftist mind trap.
And
it was starting to make sense a little. That's
I should point out, thank you, awesome, just like BZ. Okay, I like that a lot.
Absolutely. He was gorgeous, handsome, this awesome curly hair, which I love. Hey, don't you have curly hair?
Okay, on the top of my head, not so much. Around the sides,
you got a lot of it down here.
And the beard, yeah, okay, I got more. Hell, I have more hair in my ears than I do on the top of my head. Anyway,
I know. Isn't it terrible getting older? I know. Me too.
It's pretty terrible. That reminds me about Saul Alinsky. There was a guy that I met at the Freedom Fest last year in 2017 named Ralph Benko. And he was from the Saul Alinsky Foundation. And he was kind of an off-the-cuff cat. And I spoke to him for about a half hour. And he said the Saul Alinsky organization isn't anything like what you think it is. He said it isn't communist. And the dude was like wild. He was half-cocked. I don't know whether he'd had a couple of cocktails before he sat down and talked to me. But the guy was so crazy. I want to get him back on the air. And I still have his card. Basically what he was saying is that Saul Alinsky wasn't crazy. He wasn't a communist. And by the way, if you're smart, you can use all of the rules for radicals any way you want them. And as a matter of fact, he is completely correct with regard to that. And that's how I think
I wrote rules.
People on the right should start fighting back, just like that.
Yeah. And, I wrote rules for deplorables, but really, when I first started posting on Free Republic, one of my very first posts was, and this was back in, 97, 98-ish.
Okay.
One of my first posts was, why do we not turn the rules for radicals back on the right? Absolutely, I agree with him on that.
Bada bing, bada boom.
He's full of it, though, that Saul Alinsky was a communist, and he was crazy, because all communists are crazy. So I would fight tooth and nail with that guy on that. But
I know,
he makes a very good point.
He was a great cat to talk to. I really do think that he'd had a he had a couple of cocktails before he sat down to talk to me, because he
probably lit up a fat boy too.
Let's
right?
just say
they're all stoned.
He was pretty candid. Let's say. Hey, okay, in chat, this reminds me, and we got about 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break, but they're talking about porn star names in here in chat. And by the way, welcome to Mike and Whiskey Dale, and I see you're in chat, and Simone's in chat, Mary Brockman's in chat, 2 other viewers are in chat, whom we will not unmask, by the way.
Do they all have porno names? Because I don't have a porno name.
And they're all talking about their porno names. So I'm going to ask you before the break. Okay, Kari Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess, what is your porno name? And here's how you find it. What was the
Method.
name of the first pet that you had? That'll be your first name. So hang on a second. Think about that.
Okay.
And then your last name will be the street that you first remember getting raised on. So, for example, BZ right here is Squeaky Rainbow. That's my porn star name, Squeaky Rainbow.
That sounds way too cute. No, wait, the street that you first got what on?
Oh, okay, the first name is the name of your first pet.
Right, I got that. Okay.
Okay, and then the second name is the first street you lived on.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so what is it?
Okay, so that would be Kija was the name of the dog.
Okay.
Kija. And the name of the street was Vernon.
Kija Vernon. Not bad. Unfortunately,
I know it sounds like
the porn star name thing.
Hot. I don't know.
The porn star name doesn't work real well if you're raised in New York and you're like Spot 42nd Street. That doesn't work very well at all. That's just sort of right out. The other thing that I noticed.
I think
in your bio on populistwire.com is that you call yourself a gonzo journalist after your writing hero who once said, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro, Hunter S. Thompson. And this is not bad. This is not bad, Kari Baxter, Donovan. You put the sexy back in dyslexia. Not bad. I kind of like that. Now, did you ever read a lot of Hunter S. Thompson? Because he was before your time. He wasn't before my time.
Oh, no. Well, okay, so here's the thing. I read, I was always fascinated with Hunter Thompson from the time I was little. I was also fascinated with Janis Joplin. Like, I have a very old dope soul, I have to say. But when I was in school, so I'm in college, and I'm getting a degree in community organizing and in social work.
Wow.
And in my sociology class, my stoner sociology professor, the required reading was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And I'm like, I don't even have to come to this class because I'm an expert on this book, right? The required reading for my college sociology class. Now, at the time, I thought it was great because I just wanted to go party all the time. As a parent, if my child had that book as a required reading for just that book, one book for a class, I would throw a fit. But anyway, so no, I am very well versed in Hunter Thompson and in gonzo journalism, and it's actually Hunter Thompson that taught me the 5 W's. I mean, I actually learned journalism from Hunter Thompson.
Really?
That's probably why I'm not really, yep.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He was one of, I know he was crazy as all get out, and he actually, he took his life on my birthday.
Are you serious? I know he took his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you correct me, I think he was going through some medical problems, too.
Yeah. And I know he was crazy, and I know he was depressed, and even sometimes he was kind of, a liberal wanker and kind of out there. I've read some things by his son. I know that there were some problems in his life. None of us are perfect, but I'm just talking about his style of journalism and, he really, his books were crazy. His mind was like racing constantly, but Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is a hilarious book. And I remember when I read it when I was in high school, and it really touched me because I thought, wow, this guy is like really a deep thinker. And I loved the idea that he could be so intellectual and so smart and just like so crazy. So it was my introduction to smart, crazy people as well, and I kind of like that.
Okay,
that's Gonzo, but that's Gonzo.
We're going to have to go on a break. It's the bottom of the hour, time for the break. We're talking to the East Coast political goddess, Kari Baxter Donovan, and I have a question for her. And by the way, I'm going to trust your honesty, Kari. I'm going to trust that you don't go to the internet to find out the answer. What?
Oh, no! All right, I'll
okay.
try.
You're just going to have to try to see if you can scour this up. Now, if you have a series of encyclopedias, you can consult that. But going to the internet, now, I'm telling you, madame, that's cheating.
All right.
What was the first book Hunter S. Thompson wrote? And what was it about? Folks, we're going to be right back. Ooh, that's a challenging question. Okay, we're going to be right back here on the SHR Media Network. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network in the SHR Media studios way too damn close to the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the capital of California, Sacramento. Truly the locus of evil in all places. Now we're talking to Kari Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess, and I asked her a question, and I'm hoping she didn't cheat. And I happen to know because it's one of the first books that I read. Well, it is the very first book that I read of Hunter S. Thompson. So, Kari, what was the first book that Hunter S. Thompson wrote? I'll give you a clue. It happened It was published, I should say, in 1967. And some things were happening in 1967 in terms of these people and music. So, what was his first book?
I think that it was the one about the motorcycle gang, but I can't remember the title of it because it wasn't one of my favorites.
You're right.
Because I always go to Fear and I go to the Rolling Stone articles, the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Fear and Loathing in the Campaign Trail, but it was like something about. The first one was something about motorcycles.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It was Hell's Angels. It was published in 1967. And the Rolling Stones, and it became an issue at the time because the Rolling Stones, the music group, were stupid enough to use the Hell's Angels as a bodyguard of protectors at a concert in California in 1966. And would it shock you to know that some people were roughed up and killed at that concert from the Hells Angels? And then right after that book, I think Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas was published in 1971. And I remember that because in 1971, one of my favorite movies came out, Dirty Harry. And I really like Dirty Harry. And it's so weird because you can look and see Dirty Harry, and you look in the background, and there is no Transamerica building in that movie, which really used to creep me out for a while because the Transamerica building in San Francisco is the one that's real pointy, real tall, very pointy,
right
at the top.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so you got it right. Congratulations. I think that's
thank
excellent. That's wonderful. Because if I had a producer, I'd say I was staggered.
Really?
But I think that's a great thing that you knew that. However, let's go back now to some articles that you've written recently, and I see that you published one within about a couple of hours. What was that?
Oh, let's see. So tonight there's so much news going on.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote about Comey's memos, I think was the last one that I wrote, but today I've been writing about McCabe and Comey, and I wrote one, in my natural instinct is to get a little sassy, get a little gonzo. I do want to convey real news to people because I think that we're desperately lacking in real news sources.
Right.
But I do try to sometimes, I fall into my fantasy that I'm Hunter Thompson. So I try to temper it a little bit, and some of them will go off the rails on a crazy train, and some of them I just put the press release because I don't even want to give you an opinion. I just want you to see the press release. So the last one that I wrote was basically, I think, on Comey, the memos that had come out, and I like to sometimes go on Twitter and find things that people are talking about on Twitter. That's my favorite place, especially because people can get a little raunchy over there, and it's a little bit of a biker bar kind of place. So I'm very comfortable with that. And so the last one was on Comey. The one that I really liked writing today was the one on Holder, on how prosecutions for sex offenders have gone up 1,500% or something like that since Holder was in office. So, but that one I think I did pretty straight. I just sort of posted the facts, ma'am, just facts.
I'm looking at that article right now, and when you let me back up a little bit because we will get to that article. When I looked at the memos and I published where you can, folks, if you go to my Twitter feed at BZEP, BZEP, there's a link in there where you can go and actually look at the redacted memos themselves. And after looking at those really, really quick like a bunny, because I had to do something like that before I got to the show to see if there was anything just really staggering in there. And I only found one thing. Most of it I found rather pedestrian. But the one thing that stood out to me in the memos was where he wrote, "I don't do sneaky things. I don't leak."
Right.
You lying sack of shit.
He's that.
Oh my God! I'm going to play this for the folks, and I don't think you're going to be able to hear it, but I want the folks to hear it because this is a soundbite of Greg Jarrett saying that according to Senator Grassley, James Comey stole 4 classified documents, which would make him as guilty as Hillary Clinton.
In the federal regulations, Code of Federal Regulations, and the Privacy Act, as well as the Federal Records Act, anything that's in the course and scope of your employment is government property. And every FBI agent signs a document that says when you leave government, all of that is the government's to remain behind you or not to take it with you. Comey took it with him. 7 presidential memos.
Does it make any difference that he created the documents himself?
No.
No.
Everything you do in the course and scope of your employment is government property. He was acting as the FBI director when he spoke to the president. He wrote about their conversations. It's clearly government property. And he stole that government property, including, according to Senator Grassley, 4 classified documents, which would make him just as guilty as Hillary Clinton.
And that's exactly what Greg Jarrett just said. And the bottom line is, and this is just one small thing, taken in concert with the memos that were released today, where he says he doesn't leak. Comey's full of crap. Here's one of the other things that I got out of this, and I'd like your take on this, Kari, Baxter, Donovan, whom we're talking to right now, the East Coast political goddess. I think that Hillary Clinton and James Comey actually have some things in common. And I think it's this: their book tours. Basically, they're using them right now as personal therapy. They were both grandly disappointed in their lives, and I think they're trying to retain some purpose in their lives because they were shot down so remarkably when they least expected it. These book tours, I think they are a form of personal therapy. I know that for a fact with Hillary Clinton, and the longer he opens his yap, the more I believe that to be true of James Comey. James Comey has no fucking idea about these two things. Number one, the first rule of holes, and number two, you've just published things in your book that counter, and they're immured in print, sir, things that They go against what he said under oath in front of Congress. James Comey doesn't know when to take a big cup of shut the fuck up. Any thoughts about that, Kari, Baxter, Donovan?
Well, so first of all, I heard Garrett. I heard what Garrett said. I think I was watching Fox News or a little while ago, and I heard him say it. And I'm thankful that I didn't have to hear Comey's voice. Comey's voice makes me want to pull my hair out. I've never heard a more menopausal woman, a coy little girl. I want to get up off my couch and go through the television and smack him. I mean, I'm not a violent physical person. Well, I am sometimes. When I have to listen to that voice, and you're right, that's what, exactly, this coy little, And when I this is a show, and I saw that you put graphic on there because I'm going to say what I really feel. When somebody, Lawrence O'Donnell, I was watching MSNBC, was talking about Comey, and he was speaking about his poetic, his inference and all of this, and I thought, I've never heard a social justice warrior talking about starting her period. I mean, I am like through the roof. I cannot stand him. Comey is like a woman. He drives me crazy.
You've got a
Oh my gosh.
He's a
that is what he has in common with Hillary. I also cannot stand the sound of her voice. I hadn't thought about the book tours, but they have, them both having such similar book tours. Yes, you're right. And I'm glad he hasn't shut the F up, because can the guy
He's digging a hole.
I don't think he has a filter. He doesn't know. He's probably kind of a psychopath like Hillary. He doesn't know what the optics are of what he looks like because he's probably, he walks, he's tall and there's all these videos of people kind of, scattering around him like, he's a king or a queen. He's probably a queen. And
oh, Jesus.
I think that he's kind of used to that sort of, people are just going to take what he says and believe it. My gosh, the guy has just outed himself. And then it's kind of embarrassing to watch him try to, be coy. Oh, this is what I said. I'm glad he's not shutting up, though, because isn't he vindicating President Trump and everyone in the administration?
He's digging a hole.
General Fund.
And he's using his words can be used against him. If Donald Trump's words can be used against him in terms of executive orders by judges, sitting judges in courts, I see no reason why Jim Comey's words can't come back to bite him in the butt as well.
This is the thing, and this is the thing that so many people, so many opponents of Trump, they can't get their head around it, that he always lets people have enough rope to hang themselves. It's his M.O. It's what he does. You always know he's going to give you the rope to hang yourself and just watch you. I didn't watch the TV show because I don't watch TV, but I hear that that's kind of what that You're Fired show or whatever that thing is called that he was doing.
Oh,
basically,
the Apprentice, right.
The Apprentice. So he's doing that, so with Comey, you just let him go off, let him go right ahead, and we'll watch him hang himself. But it's getting embarrassing now at this point. But the sound of his voice, please, just never make me listen to it again. I can't stand it.
No, you're right, and I feel the same way about Hillary Clinton. That if for no other reason that I wouldn't have to listen to Hillary Clinton for 4 years, because listening to Hillary Clinton is like listening to Fran Drescher. I'd almost rather hear the sound of claws or talons or fingernails scracking across a chalkboard. That's possibly sonically more pleasing to me than Hillary Clinton. James Comey is
triggers me. It does trigger me.
Hell yeah.
It triggers me.
James Comey
I think
is a 6'8" Casper milquetoast. And he wants you to feel sorry for him when all of the crap was of his own making. And the funny thing is, both parties hate his ass. Oh, the Republicans hate him because of what he did, and the Democrats hate him because he decided that he was going to open up after the emails were found in the Wiener laptop. And he decided to go after those again and look for more emails. The Democrats hate him equally as much now. And then he goes in front of all the TV shows. Georgie Stephanopoulos, oh my God. And he's wearing, he's you have to know, Kari, he's a man of the people now because he's not wearing a tie. And so that makes him, you can relate to him. He's got a blazer and nice slacks and whatnot, but he's not wearing a tie, so he's telling you the truth.
Oh, okay. So that is. Well, so I wrote an article today about someone who had been brought up on espionage charges, a former FBI agent, for leaking information.
Yep.
So, and I thought that was interesting because as I'm reading it, I'm thinking to myself, this is Comey. This is what they're going to bring. They're going to throw everything at Comey. And going back to to DeSantis, who wrote out I guess he kind of wrote out the framework of that he wanted investigation into Clinton, Comey, Lynch. Right? What it was Comey that had a list of offenses, and then Hillary had 2 or 3, and then Mueller had 2 or 3. But you were right when you said it's Comey. And that was surprising to me when I first saw the memo that DeSantis wrote.
Yep.
Outlining why he wanted the probe into all of them. And then when I read the thing today about when I started putting that together, like, oh, this is setting the framework. And that's really what the Department of Justice, going through all those press releases, and I get about 30 of them a day. Now I'm getting them just a rapid fire. I'm starting to see that they're laying the groundwork. They're going to go after these. They're going to go after all of them. I'm convinced of it. And I think that, like you said, it's going to be Comey who's going to really get the book thrown at him, especially because he won't shut up. He's just out there. He's not even trying to protect himself.
No, and the
Maybe
funny
he
thing
thinks
is,
that,
it's all the leftists that are having him on their shows, when in fact, oddly enough, they're not saying much at all about how he happened to screw the sphincter of the Democrats by doing that again with Hillary Clinton. That's conveniently left out. Now, you brought up an interesting point. Let's see, today's Thursday, Tuesday, I think it was. This 39-year-old agent by the name of Terry Albury, he admitted to giving The Intercept, that's a Glenn Greenwald site, a national defense document related to online recruitment by a very specific terrorist group, and that's what the DOJ said. So he just pleaded guilty to one count of making an unauthorized disclosure of national defense information and one count of unlawful retention of national defense information. But you know why he had to plead guilty? I can tell you why. 'Cause he's an Indian. He's not a chief. And we can go after the Indians all damn day long because we don't have to live in fear of any reprisals. And it goes back to BZ's DC axiom. And it's this. You never go after your predecessors, because if you do, your successors are going to come after you. And it's an axiom absolutely etched in stone all around D.C.
They even say it.
Oh,
well, we can't go after.
Yeah, because
and that's what lets them off the hook.
Yeah, because they might come after us. And you cannot convince me, and I'm going to be curious what you think about this. Kari, Baxter, Donovan, can you think of one politician, and there may be a handful, I cannot think of one politician who hasn't probably committed crimes to get where he or she is now in D.C., in either the House or the Senate. And so if you start to go into all of their backgrounds, they don't want themselves investigated. And that's how this crap keeps coming. That's how the swamp remains filled with all the alligators in it. The deep state is the fourth branch of government. There's the executive, the legislative, the judicial, and the deep state. And frequently they can be every bit as powerful as any of the other three branches of government. We got about another 4 minutes before the end of the hour. And I'd like to refer to the one article that you wrote, I think it was today or yesterday, I think you said. No, here it is, today. It says child sex prosecutions up over 1,500% from Holder years. That's a staggering thing to write. Now, how or why did this happen?
So it started with a press release, and I started reading it, and so they found this guy, and they charged him from the year 2007, I think it was.
Okay.
I started thinking, why all of a sudden is it coming up today? So I just started trailing, just following the story, and when I got to the name, which is the the Safe Childhood Act, I looked at the act, which was by Rick Santorum, and I started thinking about, I'm sure that somehow Holder put a stomp on this because, Holder, whatever. So I went on the website for the Safe Childhood Act, and I started looking up. You can filter it by year, and the years were there's 26 convictions. There was 7 convictions. There was literally 1 conviction in 2014. Then 2015, then 2016, 2017, 1,500 convictions, right? And I'm thinking to myself, that's because it's Holder and Lynch. Those years are Holder and Lynch.
Right.
And that's all that human trafficking, just looking the other way. So I started researching on Twitter, which is just my favorite thing to do. And I found there that there were stories of people who were saying that Holder was stomping on human trafficking cases. So, I just did the math. That's all.
Okay.
What's 15?
So,
Yeah.
I number one, I have to credit you. That's an inventive way to take a press release, look at it, and examine it like journalists should be doing, but clearly they haven't because you wrote the article and you gleaned facts and information from that no one else did. So, number one, kudos to you for pulling the facts out of something that anybody else might have looked at and tossed in the round file for saying, okay, this is not really all that much interesting. So I have to ask you, though, why were these things ignored by Holder and or Lynch? Why now all the prosecutions? What could be their motivation?
Yeah. No, I have two theories, and I need to do a little bit more research on this. So this is just my theories. I don't know this.
Okay.
But I went and I found that there was a press release through the Department of Justice that was talking about Eric Holder's new ideas. Of course, he had new ideas on how to prosecute everything, right, which was basically like let all of his friends go or
right.
people he was going to make money off of
right.
and then go and persecute, over here these people. So, of course, I'm suspicious of Holder, so I'm looking. I went and found an old press release from the Department of Justice it's in that article, talking about his new strategy for human trafficking and for the for the Safe Childhood Act and what he was going to do. And I'm like, because of course Rick Santorum is a Republican, he's going to go and mess his bill up, and that's what he did. And then Loretta Lynch came along, and she, was going to reinstitute something, and she started tinkering around with that when she was the Attorney General. So there's a story there, but I think a lot of it has to do with the human trafficking was, of course, a result of a lot of the migrants back and forth. And there's something in there from Brandon Darby. I'm sorry, not from Brandon Darby, but in reference to Brandon Darby. Brandon Darby is the one who writes for Breitbart, Texas, and he deals with a lot of the migrant crisis, right? And I know that there were articles that he wrote that were critical of Holder and what he was doing, but there was gun running and there was human trafficking that was going on. And of course, Holder's he was doing all kinds of different things. There are stories there. What I'd like to do is I'd call Rick Santorum. I'd ask him about that. If I could do some, if I had resources and just, if I could do whatever I wanted to do and make phone calls all day long, I would call Rick Santorum. I would call the Department of Justice and ask them, why is this different? What's going on? But, of course, we know that there's a crackdown on pedophilia and on human sex trafficking with the back page that has been shut down by the Department of Justice, that the Trump administration and Sessions have been hammering away. And so that's part of the reason why we're seeing this huge increase in prosecutions.
Okay, let me suggest something to you, and then we're going to go to a break.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do that, let me ask this, because I think it's important. It's just about the top of the hour. It's 9 o'clock on the left coast, and it's the magic witching hour at midnight on the east coast where you live right now. And it's 1923 and 725.627 seconds in Bolivian time. If after the break, would you be able to hang around till like 15 after?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, all right.
I'd love to.
Let me suggest this, and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'd like your response to what I'm going to say, which is this. Would it be proper or accurate, I'm going to say, to suggest that Holder and Lynch did not want to go after human traffickers because they already had information to indicate that the bulk of human trafficking was occurring due to illegal immigrants? Folks, think about that just for a moment. Hang around.
Right,
we'll be right
right.
back talking to Kari, Baxter, Donovan, East Coast political goddess. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. Don't go anywhere.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Like a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, cats and kittens. Welcome back to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Thanks for listening tonight. Kind of a jaunty little tune. So,
We're back, and we're listening to Kari Baxter Donovan. We're talking to her. And Kari, I suggested that perhaps Holder and Lynch didn't want anything to do with human trafficking because it would have cast a terrible light, perhaps a few aspersions on the lovely illegals that we want so much to import more of into the United Snakes of America. Might I be going in the proper direction on that, do you think?
Well, I mean, I try to write some news articles without my own opinions, but that's what I would suspect. The other thing is that I'm always in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, the Democrats allowed the government offices to be filled up with Muslim Brotherhood. They have a different cultural value about childhood and about children, about exploitation, exploiting.
And women. They're chattel.
I think, right. So, yeah, I think it was probably, they didn't want to offend illegals or Muslim Brotherhood who were, in their administration is what I would guess. But I don't have any proof of that. So I try to sort of walk it up to that gate and just kind of leave it there for the reader to hopefully figure out. But definitely there were issues with the border, which is what Brandon Darby was writing about at the time. So I know there was that, and there were other people who were making reference to Mexicans cases where there was human trafficking and it just being left open and left alone by holders. So yeah, probably, most likely.
There are two more articles that I want to go over with you. I don't want to hold you too long, but I would like you to talk about these. The one is, and this is, I'm really, really glad that you wrote this because I found this primarily uncovered, and I tried to get motivated to write a post myself about it, but with all the crap that's going on, I just didn't. I eventually want to get back to blogging once a day at least. But you wrote something that very few others covered, and I think it's incredibly important. And the title of your article is Welfare Reform, Trump Signs Executive Order. And this is not unlike Willie J. Willie J. got excoriated because he instigated welfare reform way back in 1996. Now, it was okay then, but the leftists today say, oh, no, we can't do anything about that. But I have to say, I must be honest, when Clinton decided he was going to do that, I had to support him on that. But Trump came out with an executive order, and so maybe you can tell us a little bit about what might be in that order and what's the point of it, because, my God, did it need to be said and done.
So the executive order on welfare reform is actually it's another Trumpism. It's absolutely brilliant. So because it's going to fulfill his campaign promises, you've got all of the economics. He really wants to get people back to work and off of welfare. But out of that trap of welfare and out of that thinking of themselves as nothing but, capable of collecting welfare. That's very important to him as a president. I know that from going to different economic summits, so there's that. But also what's in that executive order, if you look at it and you scroll down, there's something magical in there, which is that he has called on federal offices to prove that the people who are hired, and by the way, these are laws that were on the books when Obama was there. So his executive orders usually have to do with prior law. So they're not inventing new things, which means they're lasting, right? It's not like Obama just, I have a pen in my phone and I'm going to make stuff up.
Right.
So in there is that he wants people to prove that they have hired people with citizens. They have 90 days to prove that their employees are citizens, which is another campaign promise, promise kept. I think let me see if I can get to my computer and look it up. But if you scroll down there, it says something about 90 days.
Okay. While you're looking for
and
that,
that's
if there's
buried in.
While you're looking for that, if there's one thing that I have to say that I absolutely thought that Donald Trump and the Republicans should have emphasized much, much more was E-Verify. If the mandate is on to use E-Verify and it's checked and employers start to being shot in the butt for not doing it and there are consequences for not using E-Verify, you almost won't need a wall. Now, I'm a big advocate of the wall, but if you really want to stop the base motivation for people coming into the United States of America, it's twofold. Jobs, paid at a lesser wage rate, by the way, than other Americans, and two, free cheese. If you shut down the availability of jobs and we find out just who is getting the jobs, and if they're illegal, you can't hire them. E-Verify must be
supported. Now, where did I read that? There's something in one of the press releases, and like I said, today, the last couple of days have been crazy because I must have read like 60 different the executive orders of the last month, and then all of these different press releases, but there was something in there about basically turning back on the electronic sharing between federal offices that has been turned off. Was kind of the framework, and it was. I'm going to have to go back and find that. Now they're all starting to run together, but
that'd be a hell of an article in and of itself.
That's a lot of what. Yeah, and that's what a lot of what Obama and his administration did. Just like Sally Yates basically told Horowitz, "You're done," and she basically turned him off. She turned his procedures off, and she wouldn't let him report. And that's why there's so much for him to report, because he has all of this time from when Sally Yates told him to stop. So a lot of what Obama was doing was basically shutting everything down that the Congress had passed. One of those things was like that, Rick Santorum bill, the Safe Childhood Act. I'm here on the I'm here on the tax reform executive order.
Okay.
Within 90 days of the date of this order, and based on the reviews required by this section, submit to the Director of the Office of Management and Budget and the Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy a list of recommended regulatory and policy changes and other actions to accomplish the principles lined in this order. And then it goes on to talk about what they need to do in 90 days. They have to state how their respective agencies are complying with 8 U.S.C. 1611, which provides that an alien who is not a qualified alien, as defined by 8 U.S.C. 1641, is subject to certain statutory defined exceptions, not eligible for any federal public benefit. And it goes on and on like that. So basically he's saying, unless they have a reason to be here, you need to tell me why do you have them in your agency? Why do you have them there?
Well, and the other thing that you mentioned that I think is incredibly important is that too many federal agencies can't talk to each other. They can't shake hands digitally. They cannot share information. And if they were able to do so, then they would be able to find out who are the welfare frauds. They'd be able to find out who are the illegals. They'd be able to find out who's getting Social Security benefits. They'd be able to find out who's getting benefits that they're not entitled to. But it's my
and there was another.
It's my fervent belief that Holder, Lynch, and Obama et al., everyone in the DOJ, wanted to make sure that that information was not revealed because it furthers their meme.
And there was another press release. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited now. There was another press release that came out, and it was just like 2 or 3 little lines. And I thought, okay, because they're usually so much longer. What is this one? It must be something important. And it was basically about how they were revoking the right of someone being in the country based upon something that he had done and his entire family. And I thought, there it is. That's what it is. And his entire family. Basically, he had broken some law, and they were saying you're not allowed to come back into the United States, and neither is any of your family. And they had done that to somebody else within the same, who was associated with this other guy. So what I see is this multi-pronged attack press releases, executive orders, and then just basically enforcing the laws that we already have. How many times did we hear that? We don't need more immigration laws.
No, we
just have to enforce the ones that we already have.
We absolutely
don't.
There was a second article.
Mm-hmm.
There was a second article that you wrote, and I'd like to have your input on this. It torqued me off, and the bottom line was I lost, and that's this. Originally, Chuck Grassley wanted to instigate a bill that would preempt Donald Trump from doing anything with the special counsel, Robert Mueller. And then Mitch McConnell came out and said, no, I don't agree with that. There shouldn't be any kind of a bill revolving around protecting, basically, they want to make sure that they can protect Robert Mueller and keep his special counsel going and funded. Then Mitch McConnell, either today or yesterday, pulled that and said, no, I will not stop a bill protecting Robert Mueller. And you wrote about that. What did you find out about that? And what is the thing? I mean, are they doing this because they think they're protecting Donald Trump? Or are they doing this because they simply want to, the establish-hack GOP portion of them, want to find something on Donald Trump? What's, like an actor, what's their motivation?
I can tell you this, that Tom Tillis is always in that group. And I am not a fan of Tom Tillis. I know because I saw the way that he ran his primary. I am a constituent of his, and I am not happy. He is always rubbing me the wrong way. He's a Republican.
Stop just for a second.
He's here in this area.
Stop just for a second. Tell everybody who Tom Tillis is.
So Tom Tillis is a senator from North Carolina.
Okay.
And he's my senator.
Okay.
And so my frame of reference, when I'm trying to figure out what are they doing, I go to Tom Tillis, and because I consider Tom Tillis, from what I know, and this is the back, the smoky back room of people gossiping and over cigars and talking about who's doing what and who's doing who, is basically Tom Tillis is going to do what's good for Tom Tillis, and Tom Tillis thinks that he's a moderate. And he's also open borders, he's amnesty, et cetera, et cetera.
Great.
So he will go back and forth between I'm Trump's best friend and I'm going after Trump because I think that that's what's going to get me elected in a purple state. And so there's all of this politics. But he's on. Now, he's said things before. And yesterday he was butthurt because he said, oh, well, if it was Hillary, we would go after. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that, we're being fair. Basically saying that if it was Hillary who was president, we would all want to protect the special counsel. So I don't know what they're doing. I can't figure it out. I don't want to put my opinion out there in an article too much. This is one of those cases because I don't really know. I sort of have an axe to grind because I don't like Tom Tillis.
I'll do it for you.
So I'm trying to be careful.
I'll make the conclusion for you. There's an article that you wrote, a paragraph in here that to me sums it all up and provides the reasoning for this having happened, because I'm going to name a few names that you wrote. Also on Wednesday, Senators Tom Tillis, Republican, North Carolina, Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey, and Lindsey Graham, Republican, South Carolina, announced they were merging two prior efforts meant to protect the special counsel into one bill titled the Special Counsel Independence and Integrity Act. So as far as I'm concerned, maybe you can't say it, but I will, anything, and I mean anything, that Cory Booker puts his name to, I would run away from as quickly as possible, because if there's one thing you definitely know, Cory Booker is motivated by one thing: race and the Democrats, and being as much of a leftist as he possibly can. So anything, in my estimation, that's associated with Cory Booker means it either has a massive leftist bent or a racist bent, because Cory Booker, I'll pull no punches as far as I'm concerned, this is my opinion, is a fucking racist. Well, gee, why stop there? Eric Holder was and is too. Oh, and that's right. Eric Holder wants to run for president.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have a theory about that.
Okay.
I don't know that he really wants to run for president, but what I think is that he's saying he wants to run for president, and the media is giving him cover because they know that way they can say, oh, you can't go after Holder because we'll say it's political. We'll say it's because he said he was going to run for president. And I think that the media is acting like Pravada, right? Like James O'Keefe says. They are giving cover to Comey, Clinton, with their book review, with their book parties or whatever their interviews and all of that stuff, and with Holder by claiming that he actually thinks he could run for president.
I'm going to make the prognostication now, and it seems really, 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 really early to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. When everything is said and done for 2020, and let's make a bet. Kari Baxter, Donovan, the East Coast political goddess.
Okay.
I'll bet you.
We have another bet about Steve Bannon.
Okay.
Don't forget. But okay, what's
right.
this one now?
I'll bet you 25 cents. And by the way, if I lose, I swear I will mail it to you, and I'm good for it.
Okay.
But I'll wager that when everything is said and done for 2020, the Democrat nominee will be Kamala Harris.
Oh, I think you might be right. Wait a minute. I have to bet you, so that means I have to take the opposite. All right.
Okay, so if it's not her, then who do you think it might be?
Okay, if it's not her, then I think it will be... Oh, my gosh. I think it will be crazy
Joe
Biden.
There's a ton. Oh, or let me throw
I think
this in.
there's going to be a mass amount of people who are going to try to run for the primary because they're all going to be trying to keep themselves out of prison. Because I think that this you can't go after me because then I'm going to claim that it's a political witch hunt.
Yeah, my hat's in the ring.
There's a lot of them on the Democrats.
I think
need to stay out of prison.
The Democrats throwing their hats in the ring for 2020 are going to be like the GOP in 2016. What were there? There 17 GOPers in the running at the time. I'll wager
Wasn't that crazy?
that was insane. I'll wager that there will be a similar number, a ton of Democrats who are going to throw their hat in the ring for the presidency in 2020. But I'm just suggesting way early that it's going to the final decision will be Kamala Harris because she's a twofer.
You're right. So I think, but I'm going to take crazy Joe Biden.
Okay. Let me throw this out there as an irritant. I'm going to throw this out there as an irritant for you.
Okay. Well, it keeps me young and keeps my circulation going. So, okay, what?
Do you think that Hillary Clinton would try it again?
To keep herself out of prison, I think so. But she wouldn't make it, I don't think, to the end. But yes.
Okay, so
I could see her trying again.
You think that Joe Biden may possibly do that, and like he could have gotten in 2016, will he go after the sympathy vote, so to speak, even though it will be 4 years later? Can he still acquire the sympathy vote for his son Beau, who passed away? Can he use that as an impetus politically?
I think that, and I think too that it's becoming very effective for them because, I'm just going to say it, to act retarded. I'm just kind of stupid. I'm just kind of retarded. I can't do anything else. And I'm just lovable and goofy. So, yeah, I think that's what he's going to do.
Oh, but if he does, oh my God, Kari, will there ever be? Joe Biden is the proverbial target-rich environment. Oh my God! All you have to do is go to YouTube and insert either in your favorite search engine or YouTube, and insert one word: Bidenism, And the crap that you're going to get, the guy with his creepy hand on the shoulder of some young little girl, or he's leaning into some teenager, and you can see him leaning up against a young female, or patting her on the shoulder, or reaching around behind her back. Oh my!
What gets me about that are the parents who stand there and watch, the men who watch their wives or daughters, because I'm thinking, how could they want that political power that much that they would allow their child to be exploited like that in their front of their face, which is just emasculating and just... I'd pop the guy. I love the video where Sessions shoos his hand off, right? Like, get away from my granddaughter. I would probably, you'd have to get a big belt and tie me to my chair to make me not jump up out of my seat and fall on the guy, intentionally fall on him. I don't know how they stand there and watch that.
The creepy, my God, Kari, the creepy factor
off
of Joe Biden is it's fucking geometrical. Mike in chat says, okay, he's throwing his hat in the ring for a couple of people. He's saying that he thinks either maybe Martin O'Malley or Terry McAuliffe throwing their names in. But
those would be more serious candidates, right?
I truly think that we're going to see in 2020 a 2016 replay from the GOP, only done in 2020 on behalf of the Democrats. I think you're going to see a ton of those people throw their names in the ring.
Yeah, Terry McAuliffe, that's a good one. I mean, that would actually make sense.
Or White Mamba. White Mamba says, "Hey, what about Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren?
Right.
What happened to her? Doesn't she?" I'll tell you this, though. I'll wager that Pocahontas does, in fact, throw her name in the ring for 2020.
Right.
I'll bet you.
I'll bet you
a nickel. Okay, right now, I'll bet you.
Hero. Yeah.
I'll bet you a nickel, not 25 cents, because I don't want to go overboard or crazy. I'll bet you a nickel.
I'm going to get rich off you.
I know.
I might even be able to buy a whiskey.
I know. Don't spend it all in one place. I bet you a nickel that of those persons who will run a serious campaign for president on the Democrat side in 2020, one of them will in fact be Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, she's.
Do we have a
bet
bet
on these people? Absolutely.
Yeah.
She probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. It's time for the break.
I know
folks.
that my.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
Oh, I was going to say quickly. I know that my young niece in Massachusetts loves Pocahontas. So she has her followers.
No. Oh, sad, sad. How sad is that?
There's something in the water in Massachusetts.
And there's a reason they're called massholes. I learned that. You know who taught me that? Sackhead Sean.
Sean.
Yep. You know that for a fact. All right, folks, we've been talking to the East Coast political goddess. We got to go on a break. Kari Baxter Donovan. Before we go, though, Kari, tell us where you can be read and where you are on social media so that people, if they want to read you and find you, they can.
Well, thank you so much for letting me come on and chat, and I just love hanging out with you.
Been a great time.
First of all. And Twitter, I'm at Happit, Happit, 1776. And I'm constantly in a rage about something on Facebook, Kari Baxter Donovan. And I'm at Populous Wire doing a lot of stuff over there. And every once in a while I'll probably drop something over at Big League Politics. And I've got some other little places where I drop, things, but I usually will link them on my Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter.
As a matter of fact, yes, you are. And you have had, Twitter flame wars, if I'm not mistaken, with all sorts of people. Hey, before we go, one final thing.
Yeah.
Have you been kicked off Twitter before?
I have, for trolling. I was kicked off last night.
Oh, that's right. You told me. That's right. You told me you followed too many people. I still don't get that.
Yeah, I chronically followed. I aggressively followed. Well, last night I was calling someone a dumbass, like, over and over and over, because I was. See, but you have to remember, I'm a troll, and I love to study people, and I love to see how they react and how far they'll obsess about something. So if I have time on my hands, I will see how far, and I will see how long I can call someone. Just keep saying, like, you're a dumbass, you're a dumbass, you're a dumbass. And I'm like an old school troll. From way back in the day. I think I probably learned that from Steve Bannon. We have a big Steve Bannon, bet. So next time I come on, next time you let me, we're going to chat about that one.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. There you go. You're on.
All right.
We'll do that.
You're awesome.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Folks, we've been talking to Kari Baxter Donovan, who is the East Coast political goddess. She was here for an hour and a half, and I really enjoy having her here. You got to read her. You got to read her articles. You got to go to her Twitter feed, and it was a great, great time speaking to her. And we have one final segment yet to go. So again, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening live. Thanks for being in the chat room. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
for fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is a nice little stinger. I like this one. Nice to just listen to. I created that for the Sackheads Against Tyranny show, and because I created it and I own the rights to it, I thought, well, screw it. I'm going to use it for my show, too, as well, while I'm here. Hey, I bought it, okay, so I can use it. I'm the owner of that thing. But I'm not an owner in SHR. I just should tell you that the two original owners are still there. That's Sackhead Sean and Sackheads Clint. And then, just when you thought that things were going well, can you imagine you bought a ticket and you sat down and then something like this happened?
Welcome back to Fox and Friends First. Horror and panic in the skies when an engine explodes minutes after takeoff. One woman nearly sucked out of a broken window is dead this morning. Now, the NTSB now trying to figure out how in the world this happened, what went wrong. Jackie Banya is here now with the horrifying firsthand accounts. Good morning, Jackie.
Hi, Heather. Good morning. This is absolutely horrifying. As you said, investigators now pouring over the blown engine as Southwest rushes to inspect their fleet. Tragedy striking the doomed Southwest flight shortly after takeoff from New York's LaGuardia Airport. The plane heading to Dallas when the engine blew, sending debris smashing into a window. Passengers trying to stop a woman from getting sucked out as pilots made an emergency landing in Philadelphia.
Engine severe damage, engine failure, and exact tons of fuel. Part of the aircraft missing, so we're going to need to slow down a bit.
The woman, identified as Jennifer Reardon of Albuquerque, New Mexico, did not survive. She was a mother of two and an executive at Wells Fargo. Nearly 150 passengers and crew members shaken as they walked into the tarmac. Some didn't think they would survive.
As the plane was just going down, we literally just felt like we were just falling from the sky. I looked to my left and the engine's just totally done.
NTSB's preliminary examination shows evidence of metal fatigue on the engine and that a fan blade was missing. Part of the broken engine recovered 70 miles west of Philadelphia. Southwest pilot Jamie Jo Schultz now being hailed a hero for safely landing that plane. She was one of the first female fighter pilots in the U.S. Navy. This is the first deadly commercial airline accident in the U.S. since 2009.
That's a pretty damn good record, if you ask me. The first fatality in the U.S. for local carriers since 2009. That's pretty amazing. So she got the name wrong of the pilot of that plane. It was Tammy. Hello, Tammy Jo Schultz. And Tammy is 56, the pilot of that. The plane was at about 32,000 feet when the window was blown. What happened is that the engines were made by CFM. I happen to know that. And they weren't made by Pratt & Whitney or GE or local engine manufacturers. Let me just throw that in as part of the story. Around the cowl, because this has happened before, an excellent example would be United Flight 232, if anybody remembers that, back in either 1988 or 1989. There was a DC-10, a tri-holer, that was coming into Iowa. This was the plane that was captained by Al Haynes, and there were 3 people in there, and one of the guys was working the throttle to make that come in. And unfortunately, when they attempted to land in Iowa, the plane came in, cartwheeled, and a lot of people were killed, and a shocking number of people actually survived that. But what happened is one of the engines in the DC-10 exploded, and the shrapnel from the fan blades went through the cowling and into the fuselage of the aircraft and essentially severed the first, secondary, and third system hydraulics of that particular aircraft. Since then, engine manufacturers around the cowls have attempted to armor the cowls so that if something like this happens, they throw a fan blade, that the bulk of the detritus and the material, the metal, that's thrown at a massive, massive RPM is caught within that cowl. Unfortunately, this didn't happen. And I make mention of this for a couple of reasons. Number one, if I had time, I was going to do happy stories and good times. A woman died, and yet the captain of this particular plane was absolutely awesome. I'm going to play some audio for you in just a moment to show you the remarkable calm of this woman, who was one of the first FA-18 pilots, female pilots, in the Navy back in the 90s. And apparently she's kept that badass attitude, and it shows up in the cockpit. And it's yesterday, I believe it was. Absolutely incredible. But is there anyone within the sound of my voice listening in the chat room or listening in podcast who has not at one point on a flight, sitting not in an aisle seat, but in a window seat, have you not theorized or asked yourself at least once, I wonder what would happen if that window blew out? And if you ever have nightmares about aircraft, the exact same thing that happened to that poor woman, I should imagine that there are a lot of people right now thinking, I've had nightmares about that, because essentially this is what happened. A metallic piece from the thrown engine part, the fan blade, happened to go through the cowling, through the armoring, and into the fuselage. And in the greatest bit of terrible fate for the woman sitting in the window seat there, it shattered that window, and at 32,000 feet and 500 miles an hour, though she was, and the fact is that she was belted in, and despite the fact that she was belted in, she went out the window. Now, stop and think about that just for a moment, for those of you who already have a fear of flying. But I will be the first to admit I've thought about something like this. Average human shoulders will not go through that window. Average male shoulders will not go through that window. And despite the fact that she had her seatbelt on, she went through that window. There were two people inside the aircraft who ran and attempted to pull her back. And they said that the woman died because of blunt force trauma to her head. And I would suggest that's probably being rather kind, because she went out that window from the waist up, including her arms. And so you could imagine at 32,000 feet, at 500 miles an hour, what would have happened when they pulled that poor lady inside the aircraft. It was rather amazing that perhaps more pieces didn't hit more locations on the fuselage and or break even more windows. And if that's not a nightmare scenario for people who fly, I really don't know. I have some audio, and I want to play this now. This is about a minute and 15 seconds. And I want you to listen how calm 56-year-old pilot, Southwest pilot, Tammy Jo Schultz was.
Southwest 1380, like to start turning it down. And
Southwest 1380, just start turning southbound there. There's a Southwest 737 on a 4-mile final. We'll be turning southbound. Start looking for the airport. It's off to your right and slightly behind you there. And altitude is your discretion. Use caution for the downtown area. Advise you maintain at about 2,200 for the MVA.
Okay, could you have the medical meet us there on the runway as well? We've got injured passengers.
Injured passengers, okay. And is your airplane physically on fire?
No, it's not on fire, but part of it's missing. They said there was a hole and someone went out.
I'm sorry, you said there was a hole and somebody went out? Southwest 1380, it doesn't matter. We'll work it out there. So the airport's just off to your right. Report it in sight, please.
In sight. Southwest 1380, airport's in sight.
Southwest 1380, you're cleared. Visual approach 27 right. Contact the tower on 118.5. Southwest 13, I'm sorry, clear visual approach 27 left. 27 left and towers on 18.5.
We're going on 27 left. Switching tower. Good day.
Good day. She says good day. If that isn't calm under fire, I don't know what is. Like law enforcement, the ultimate critical event in a law enforcement officer's life is getting into a shooting. And for a pilot, I would expect that the most critical event that could occur to you would be damage to your aircraft, and you have to figure a way to put that baby back on the ground. After Schultz landed the plane intact, passenger Diana McBride Self of Corpus Christi, Texas, wrote on Facebook, "A huge thank you to the Southwest crew and pilot Tammy Jo Schultz for their knowledge and bravery under these circumstances. God bless each one of them." Passengers also said they appreciated what Schultz did after pulling off the landing. This is great. Sackhead Sean talked about this last night, by the way, in Sackheads Against Tyranny. She walked through the cabin to speak to them and see how they were holding up. She has nerves of steel, that lady. I applaud her. Self's husband, passenger Alfred Tomlinson, told the AP. I'm going to send her a Christmas card, and I'm going to tell you that with a gift certificate for getting me on the ground, she was awesome. And despite the fact that somebody did die in that, it happens to be a happy story, because the rest of the people, the 177 people that were on that plane, she put them all down on the ground. And what a wonderful thing that was, indeed. Now, today, I've got about 7 more minutes. I got time for one more story. I find this very interesting. Tonight was a 37-tab night. And after having been a 37-tab night, I had so many stories to talk about. It wasn't even remotely funny. I've gone to, tonight, 5 of my tabs. I still have 30 tabs open of stories that I want to tell. And today, obviously, I won't be able to do it. Perhaps Tuesday of next week, I'll be able to pull it off. But today, amongst all the other things that occurred, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein told President Trump that he is not a target of the Michael Cohen investigation.
Conflicting reports tonight on whether President Trump is a target in the various investigations roiling Washington, from the Mueller Russia probe to the Michael Cohen raids. Meantime, the Justice Department's Inspector General referred its findings on former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe to federal prosecutors for possible criminal charges. Ed Henry is at the White House with all the developments. Ed, what's going on?
Mark, great to see you. This could be...
Stop. Does anybody besides me think that Andrew McCabe is really screwed?
A big deal, because what we're learning today is that the Deputy Attorney General in an Oval Office meeting last week told President Trump he is not a criminal target in either the Michael Cohen investigation or the special counsel probe involving Robert Mueller, of course. Bloomberg kicked all of this off by reporting that during this meeting, Rosenstein basically said the president's a subject of the Mueller probe, meaning his conduct is under investigation, but there's not enough evidence to charge him.
Okay, stop. I'm going to have a very important question for you at the end of this sound bite.
Rosenstein was repeating this for the first time since Cohen's office and home had been raided. And Fox News is specifically hearing Rosenstein also told the president he's not a target of that Cohen investigation in New York either. But Mueller, it's important to note, has not ruled out making the president a target at a later date based on evidence that could emerge. The same could happen in the Cohen investigation, which explains why tonight the president has now added to his legal team. You see him there, Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor, former federal prosecutor. He's been sharply critical of the FBI for going light on Hillary Clinton but attacking the president. FBI officials like Andrew McCabe, the former number 2, who was fired for leaking, and now the Inspector General at the Justice Department has sent a criminal referral to the U.S. Attorney here in Washington saying that McCabe tried to cover all that up by lying to the FBI's own investigators. McCabe says tonight he believes he'll be vindicated, but it's worth noting that former Justice Department officials are telling us that the fact that the Inspector General, who's nonpartisan at the Justice Department, sent...
Let me stop you here just for a second. If the IG points his finger at you, you're going to be screwed because, as he mentioned, this guy is nonpartisan. So the question, I'm going to continue with this soundbite to the end of the show, but the question that I have for you is, do you believe any fucking thing that Rob Rosenstein said? Remember this critical piece of evidence, and this is fact, not supposition. Rod Rosenstein, it was his memo sent to President Trump delineating point by point. It was his memo that led to President Trump saying that he needed to fire James Comey, because in that memo, Rod Rosenstein delineated all the reasons that President Trump had to fire James Comey. Then it was, after having done that, Rod Rosenstein who approved and appointed Robert Mueller to go after President Trump.
This criminal referral, it carries a lot of weight, and that's why the president tweeted a few moments ago that maybe James Comey and Andrew McCabe are getting a dose of their own medicine. Mark?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing news, Ed. Thanks for that. Chris Spreaker is the was the executive assistant director of the FBI. He's not one of those who's under criminal referral. And Tom
one of the few
is the president of Judicial Watch. Tom, this is pretty amazing, isn't it? We basically got a situation where the director of the FBI would be the principal witness in the criminal prosecution of the deputy director, and possibly vice versa in Comey's case.
And that's how screwed up the FBI is. I have never seen a situation or a time when the FBI is so witless. I am at a loss as to how to figure out how someone, and I don't think Ray can do it, someone somewhere desperately needs to unfuck the FBI.
Bizarre times.
It is, and remember, he's the number 2 at the FBI, or at least was number 2, was the senior official charged with investigating Hillary Clinton over the email matter and targeting President Trump. As far as I'm concerned, his conduct, it's been alleged by the Inspector General, and now he's facing potential prosecution, has tainted both investigations. And remember, Andrew McCabe, ironically, is the FBI official who reportedly set up the ambush interview of those agents with General Flynn, and General Flynn was later charged with lying and admitted to lying to those agents.
Okay, what Tom Fitton fails to mention, however, in this case, and there was an article that I read on this show a couple of months ago, which indicated that the FBI agents, after having spoken to Michael Flynn, believed and came out of that interview convinced that Michael Flynn told them the truth.
Now Mr. McCabe is now could be charged with lying at least 3 times under oath to FBI officials investigating him. It's an extraordinary development, and it doesn't augur well, obviously, for Mr. McCabe, Mr. Comey, or frankly Mr. Mueller, who was handed this investigation by McCabe and his team.
Chris, you wrote today that you're pretty embarrassed about the state of your old agency and what it's come to. I mean, this is the FBI is now the issue. Nobody cares about Russia. That's all gone away. It's actually the conduct of the highest figures in the FBI that is now the issue in this story.
Well, Mark, let me just say it's not the FBI. This is what my op-ed was about. It was about not equating the FBI, the good men and women of the FBI, with Comey and McCabe.
Oh, now let me stop right there, because if you talk to James Comey, as far as he's concerned, he is the FBI, and he'll tell you that all day long.
Page, a very small group that was an aberration. Remember, Comey was only director for a very short time.
Right.
Yeah, 3 years.
So
most FBI directors last 10, unless they screw the pooch, like Jimmy.
I hate to have the entire FBI painted with that broad brush when we know that this small inner circle...
Well, you can thank James Comey for that, and you can thank Andrew McCabe for that, and you can thank probably almost everyone on the damn 7th floor, except perhaps the secretaries, for placing the FBI in that terrible position.
Simply made up their own rules and did things their own way and broke the rules. Right. Some very well-established rules.
Well, just to go to that, we all know that it's a crime to lie to the FBI, and Michael Flynn supposedly did that, and he would have been looking at several years in jail if they decided to go and prosecute for that.
Oh, let me point this out also. By the way, Michael Flynn was accused of lying to the FBI. Now, he was not sworn, appearing, and testifying before Congress. This was a one-on-one interview with the FBI. That's what he was prosecuted for. That's what he was indicted for.
Now, McCabe did it 3 times as often as Michael Flynn. Do you think there's any serious chance he'll be going to jail?
I think that the referral by the Inspector General is a very serious thing. I mean, it's ironic that the potential charge would be 18.
And by the way, we are going to go a little bit into overtime.
U.S. Code 1001, which is lying to the FBI, and that's what Flynn and Papadopoulos and others have been charged with. So I think it's ironic that he's facing those very same charges times 3.
Let's go on to McCabe's old boss, Jim Comey, who's managed to make enemies on all sides, which is boding poorly for his book tour. This was the scene outside a New York City Barnes and Noble.
Let me throw this in here, too. Andrew McCabe's wife, Jill, was running for the Senate in Virginia. She was the recipient of $750,000 for her campaign for the Democrats, a friend of Hillary Clinton, and a friend of Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, who we referred to earlier in the show as possibly a presidential candidate in 2020. And McCabe said though he was in charge of the investigation looking at Hillary Clinton and his wife was running as a Democrat, he has a photo of himself and his wife in shirts. They are clear Democrats, aligned with Democrats, funded by Democrats. And Andy McCabe said, there's no conflict of interest with regard to the investigation, my allegiance with my wife with the Democrat Party, and all this money that was funneled into her campaign. But there's no conflict of interest. Further, James Comey, as FBI director, absolutely 100% concurred. Oh, there's no conflict of interest.
Where there were both pro and anti-Trump supporters united on nothing except how much they detest Comey. Antipathy to James Comey is healing this divided nation. What's your reaction to that, Tom?
You know, the veil's been lifted. The veil's been lifted. James Comey is an anti-Trump activist.
Yes.
He might as well be running the DNC, given his hatred for President Trump.
Yes.
And his deference to Hillary Clinton. You know, he illegally leaked, in my view, that document about his alleged conversation with President Trump that I really don't even think happened the way he said, in order to get a special counsel appointed. So, you know, breaking the rules to get a special counsel to target President Trump.
And 4 documents that we talked about earlier.
That's Mr. Comey's legacy. And Andrew McCabe is his legacy. Peter Strzok is his legacy.
Right.
Lisa Page is his legacy. This is the culture of corruption that James Comey quickly set up when he was appointed by Barack Obama to run and from a leadership position, ruin the FBI for that short time.
I'd almost rather be known for a semen stain on a blue dress than that.
He was there.
Let me ask Chris a question about that, Chris, because you've been very strong on this idea that basically here we have it, like in county court terms, the policeman usurping the role of the county attorney when he absolved Hillary Clinton from any prosecutable wrongdoing.
And that's exactly correct. He took the job of Loretta Lynch's DOJ. Willingly, Loretta Lynch gave him that power, acquiesced it, because she didn't want to have anything to do with that, and allowed Jim Comey to basically do her job, which isn't his job to do. And then he lied bald-faced nakedly to me. I'm not a blithering idiot. I know the difference between crimes of general intent and specific intent, and he said that Hillary Clinton did not generate specific intent to be brought up for an indictment. The crime of which she could have been subjected and should have been subjected were crimes of general intent, not specific intent. That means everything, and I knew from that second James Comey was a 6'8" lying sack of shit.
He's not the prosecutor, he's the investigator. Why didn't President Obama actually fire him as FBI director for that?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, this system is set up to have a filter between the investigators and a prosecution or a prosecutive decision, and that's a very sound system, and that keeps the FBI out of politics. In this case, he thrust them directly into politics, sort of a thumbs-on-the-scale investigation, a non-investigation with Clinton, and then a pretty push-the-envelope investigation on the president. Now, I'm in favor of an all-out investigation. If you're going to investigate and it's fully predicated, go at it. In this case, they did not, and I think that fit in with the whole agenda there. Lynch clearly, the Attorney General clearly was in the camp for Clinton, was running some interference for her, and that's what Director...
And I can tell you why it all happened when we wrap up this audio cut.
Former Director Comey cited as the reason he bypassed her, but I can't, you can't do that. You can't do that differently just for her.
Gentlemen,
this is a system that has rules, and he should have followed the rules.
No, that's a good point. Equality before the law. I have dim memories of that.
And that's true. By the way, I like Mark Stein. I really like listening to Mark Stein, as do we all. But the reason that this occurred, and everyone probably knows it, is that there was one expectation, and one expectation only, on November 8th. And everything that all of these people did up to that point was predicated upon that one thing, that Hillary Clinton would be voted in President of the United States of America.
Monsieur has been locked.
And here we go. It's that time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. This one right here, right now, on the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me? You can contact me at, on Twitter, I should say, at BZEP, B-Z-E-P. And on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net, you can do like a lot of other people do. You can send me hate mail, bz at shrmedia.com. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at reverbnation.com. And promotional consideration is, as per normal, by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And Pratt & Whitney engines, thrust, you can trust. Of course, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. Baby, I'm coming for you. Thank you ever so kindly for listening tonight. Thanks to Kari, Baxter, Donovan. Thanks for being in the chat room. And thanks for listening in podcast. God bless. Be safe. Have a great weekend, all.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.